A big round of applause for Gary Anderson from the Port of Bremerton. And now, folks, we ask that if you are able, we ask that you please rise, remove your hats, and in salute of the Canadians that are joining us here today for this year's air show, here is the national anthem of Canada, "O Canada." We ask that you please remain standing. Keep those hats off, sing loud, sing proud. Here it is, the Star-Spangled Banner, the United States National Anthem. Of the 2024 edition of the Bremerton Air Show officially open. And a good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to the Bremerton Air Show. My name is Ken Hildebrand, Air Show announcer from Abbotsford, British Columbia. And it is my delight to tell you all about the great flying action we have in store for you. Yes, folks, we have airplanes taking to the sky. We're going to be seeing abundant air shows, as well as John Blaze in the SM-260. The so-called Bremerton Commandos are here. The Royal Canadian Air Force is in the house, folks, with their CF-18 demonstration team. We've got multiple airplanes from the Harrison Museum. We've got Mustangs, and we've got the United States West Coast FA-18 Rhino demonstration team. Bremerton, I have one question for you and one question only. Are you ready for an air show? Come on, Bremerton, you can do better than that. Are you ready for an air show? Then let's go to the skies and bring on the Cascade Warbirds. And with me here today to tell you all about the airplanes you're seeing taking off is Mr. Dan Shoemaker. Dan, welcome to Bremerton.
Thank you, Ken. It's great to be here. And on behalf of all the Cascade Warbirds, I'd like to welcome everybody here in attendance today.
So, Dan, I've got some semi-appropriate period music for us to enjoy as we watch this parade of airplanes. We got a chance to see all of these airplanes take off, and now they're going to be circling around and doing individual flybys. Let's talk about this first big, loud, growly airplane. Tell us a little bit more about it.
This airplane is a T-28C Charlie model. There were several different versions of the T-28 built. The A model was built for the Air Force. It had a smaller engine. The C model was built for the Navy and Marine Corps. It had a larger engine on it. The C model here, you'll notice, has a tail hook on it, and it was used for Navy carrier qualifications. The engine is it's pretty much the same engine that was on the B-17, except there's only one of them in this case. And it's being flown by Roger Collins of the Collins Historic Aircraft Foundation.
Now, he flies multiple airplanes, does he not?
He does indeed. He'll be flying Lady Joe, the P-51 Mustang, later in the show.
And I see they've got a smoke system installed on board this T-28. Audiences should not be alarmed. This is actually a modification to the airplane.
It is indeed. It helps keep the airplane visible and also adds a little bit of panache to the show.
Now I see we've got two airplanes that have joined up information off to our left, and they are inbound from the north. What are we going to see here?
You're going to see Dave Desmond in his Ryan Navion, and also Bob Hill in his Romanian IAR 823 trainer. Both of them have just popped smoke. The Navion was used by the Army and the Air Force as a liaison aircraft during the Korean War. The IAR 823 was used as a trainer by the Romanian Air Force in the 1970s and 80s.
Now I see we have a second IAR coming up right from our left here.
That's correct. That's Victor Norris in his IAR 823. It's essentially identical to Bob Hill's, except just basically a different paint job.
Now we see the wing waggles coming from this next airplane, different style from a different nation.
This is a Nanchang CJ6. It was manufactured by the People's Republic of China for the People's Liberation Army Air Force.
Oh, look at this little speedbird coming up with the wingtip tanks, it looks like.
This is the Marchetti SF-260 Warrior. It was built by Italy, and it served in a number of smaller air forces around the world as a trainer and light attack aircraft.
Well, it looks like we've got another Navion bringing up the rear of our circuits here today.
We do. That's Stephen Baldwin in Paul Euban's Navion. You'll notice that there's the sound of the engine may be a little bit different between the first Navion you saw and that one. The first Navion that you saw fly by has a 520 cubic inch engine, where the one that Steve's flying has only 185 cubic inches.
Oh, check this out, a nice bottom side pass by our T-28, flown by Roger Collins.
Love the sound of that motor.
I was just going to say, and you know, throughout the day, we're going to hear all sorts of different engine sounds. We're hearing the Trojan right now, the Navion, the IAR, etc. We've also got Mustangs out there, and then, of course, we're going to go to modern day with the jet noise.
Of course.
Now, I see they've changed up the formation just a little bit here with Dave Desmond.
Yeah, they're in a trail formation here. And Bob is doing his best to keep out of Dave's prop wash.
I imagine it would get very bumpy there if he started hanging out in the prop wash there. Victor is showing some spirit out there as he waves to us here on the ground with his wing waggles.
Or getting caught in Dave's prop wash.
That could happen too. All right, coming up from our left, the CJ6, I believe it is.
Yep.
This is an aerobatic airplane of sorts as well. I know I've seen it perform at air shows in the past.
Yeah, this one, if you look at the paint job on this one, you'll see a lot of CJ6s in a lot of fanciful colors. This one is a really authentic Chinese Air Force paint scheme. And he's got the Marchetti 260, piloted by Drew Blaze. He'll be putting on another aerobatic show a little bit later today.
And I look forward to telling the audience a little bit more about that airplane, because it has a little bit of air show history that goes back to the 80s, as a matter of fact. another good look at our second Navion with the Cascade Warbirds. Now, as they circle around, Dan, tell us a little bit more about the Cascade Warbirds themselves.
Cascade Warbirds is a group of aircraft owners and enthusiasts, and we are dedicated to teaching the history and displaying vintage military aircraft. We've got about 250 members, about half of them on airplanes, and the other half that don't are just interested in military aviation, and we enjoy coming out and helping out with the air shows in any way we can.
Now, this is not the only air show that you're doing this weekend. You have members that are participating in a couple of other events around the area.
We do indeed. We have some folks up at the Arlington Air Show, and primarily Arlington. I don't know that we have anybody anywhere else. Victor Norris coming by.
Now, Victor has to share the controls with another special someone, doesn't he?
He does. Kirsten Norris is his wife. She frequently flies one of the days during a 2-day air show. However, she is unavailable today. She also does a lot of the announcer assistance duties as well.
Here's another good look at the Nanjing CJ6. Interesting thing to note about this particular airplane is that it is a 2-seater set in a tandem configuration.
It is. A lot of trainers you'll see will be side-by-side seating where the instructor sits right next to the student. In the case of the Nanjing and the T-28, the instructor sits behind the student.
Now, something that I probably won't get into in John Blaze's performance in the Marchetti is that this airplane was actually used for light attack.
It was. By a number of small African countries. It was used by Libya during some of their revolutions. Gaddafi used it as a light counterinsurgent aircraft.
Oh, here comes another fine North American product, the T-28 Trojan. You see, this is the C model, right?
This is the C, yes.
Especially seeing that tail hook out there. We have other North American products out here on the static display ramp, including well, I know it in Canada as the Harbor. Down here it was known as the T6 Texan or the SNJ if it flew under Navy colors. We've also got a pair of Mustangs for people to enjoy.
We do. And note that the Navion was originally built by North American Aircraft, and then production was taken over by Ryan once North American stopped producing them.
Now, it's also important to note that the Navion, as well as the IAR, are more than 2 seats on board the airplane.
They are the family models. They have front and back seats. And surprisingly, that Marchetti has a back seat as well.
Oh, look at this. On the go around. I think Roger planned this specifically.
I think you're right. Can't argue with the results, though. Just love that noise.
It is a beautiful noise. I mean, all of these airplanes sound really beautiful. And I was alluding to this earlier on in the airshow program. Airplanes of this era, from the 1930s all the way through the 1960s, they all seem to have their own distinctive sound. I remember when I was a kid looking at airliners going above me, I could pick them out, label them fairly easily. Now it's a lot harder because they all look sort of similar. Same with the engines. I'm sure that you can tell what's flying by just by the sound of the engine.
Yeah, I mean, all jets pretty much sound alike, but you can usually identify an airplane by the sound its engine is making, especially the radial engine models.
Now with the big radial engine like we have in the T-28, every once in a while when they pull back to idle and taxi by, you might hear a little pop-pop coming from the engine. Is that something to be concerned about?
No, that's pretty normal. It normally just comes from a little bit of fuel igniting in the pistons or the pipes.
I always like to joke with the radial engines. If they're not dripping oil, puffing smoke, or making some pop-pops, there's something wrong.
Exactly.
Nice couple of extra passes here by Roger Collins in the T-28 C model. Folks, here's a nice picture of the Cascade Warbirds in the, what I'd like to call the elephant walk. Taxiing back to the performer parking area. I think I'm going to grab my phone and grab a shot of this. Some beautiful, beautiful airplanes here, folks. And pretty much an airplane that can suit almost any budget, right?
Exactly. Yeah, there's a Warbirds for pretty much any price point. Now, as they taxi by, go ahead and wave to them. They'll be waving back. They won't be looking at you, so don't take that as a dismissal of you. They're keeping their eye on the airplane in front of them because they definitely don't want the airplane in front of them to stop short and end up with a propeller in their tail. They're just not at this show today.
And we've got Roger back down on the ground. I think Doug Bertoni said, "Stop spending my gas. You're done." We really appreciate Doug Bertoni, the producer of this year's air show, and all of his team that worked so very hard to bring this air show to Bremerton. There's a large army of